Equations with fractions is a tricky lesson just because you have to think about a bunch of different things. The first thing we need to think about is our least common multiple. So our least common multiple is the smallest number they have in common. And you want to find that by multiplying. So when multiplying. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. 2 and 3 are not common denominators. That's another thing you could call this, is common denominators is another thing that you want with that. So we want common denominators between 3 and 2. So what's in common between those? Well, you can make a multiplication table for both of them. So 4, this would give me 6, then 9, then 12, 6, 8, 10, so on and so forth. Well, the least thing that they have in common is the 6. So we want to multiply everything by 6 because it's the least common multiple. So what do I mean when I say multiply everything by 6? I mean everything. So that 6 goes to every single numerator that's there. Okay, so we're taking it to every numerator. So that's going to give us 6x over 2, 6 over 3, 6x over 3, plus 6 over 2. So in your head, you're probably thinking, we just made more of a mess than we started with. But these are all divisible by each other. 6 divided by 2 is just 3x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 6 divided by 3 is 2x. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now this is an easy equation. Put our line down the middle, move our variables all to one side, so subtract our 2x to get rid of it. So now we get x plus 2 equals 3. Subtract 2, and we get x equals 1. Okay, so your answer to this is x equals 1. So you took all those fractions and you got one solid answer for what x should be, just because you multiplied by a least common multiple. So number 2 looks a little bit different. We should know what those are because that's what we just did in the last lesson. These are proportions. So your first step here is to cross multiply. Okay, so cross multiplying, I get 4 times 3 going this way. Then when I go this direction, 2 and x minus 2. So in the red, I have to use distributive property. In the blue, I can just leave it and multiply to get 12. And then I get 2x minus 4. Okay, so move all of our variables to one side, our numbers to the other. I'm going to go ahead and move my number. So to move this 4, I'm going to add it. So now I get 16 equals 2x. And I need to get the x by itself. So I do that by dividing by 2. And that gives us a nice answer of 8. Number 3 looks a lot like number 2 does. So we're going to do the same thing here where we cross multiply. So my first step is to cross multiply. Okay, so I have 2 times 2x plus 4. And then I have 1 times 3x minus 1. So now what you have is stuff outside of parentheses. So your second step then should be to distribute. Okay, I need to distribute on both sides. So in the blue, when I distribute, I'm going to get 4x plus 8. And in the red, when I distribute, 3x minus 1. So now I just want to solve this. All of my variables to one side. So I'm going to move this 3x. So now I have x plus 8 equals negative 1. Now I need to subtract the 8 to get rid of it. So I have x equals negative 9. And that's your answer. Okay, our last one here is definitely tricky. So your first step here is you want to distribute. Okay, so in distributing this, I get 2/3 x. Then I need to take 2/3 times 5. Let's think about how we do that. 2/3 times 5. What's 5 really? 5 over 1. How do you multiply fractions together? You go straight across the top and get 10 over 3. So this is really plus 10/3 equals 4/9. So then your next step is to find your least common multiple to get rid of fractions. What is your least common multiple here? Well, your denominators are what you're looking at. I have 3, 3, and 9. So if you make a multiplication table of 3 and 9, this will go 3, 6, 9, 12, and look, you already have a common 9. So that's what you need to multiply everything by. You need to multiply everything by 9. And by everything, I mean every numerator in the problem. Okay, so 9 times 2 is 18 over 3x, 90 over 3, and 36 over 9. So we do that because now these are nice. They're reducible. What is 18 divided by 3? Well, it's just 6x. What is 90 divided by 3? 30. What is 36 divided by 9? 4. Now all I need to do is isolate my variable. So I have 6x equals negative 34. Negative 26, I'm sorry. Get the variable by itself. So I have x equals negative 26 over 6. The last thing I need to look for is, can I reduce those fractions? Are 26 and 6 divisible by the same thing? Well, yeah, I can divide those both by 2 and get 13 over 3. Okay, and don't forget your negative sign that has to come along with it. So x then is negative 13 over 3.